Welcome back to Competitive Open RL. 4 players already eliminated in the 2022 Masters here in Rival Tier. 4 remain, and by the end of the day, Sam, we'll have just 2 Titans remaining in the hunt for the biggest title of the year. First up, it's Newcastle fan against 7. It's going to be a tough old match for both players, I think, Sam. Different challenges for both, and it's a matchup we've never seen in Competitive Open. Going to be fascinating viewing, surely.
Yeah, we started yesterday with 8. We're now getting into the upper echelon of the tournament. This is really where the elites have a chance to show what they're made of. And up first, Newcastle fan versus 7, aka user 129346777. And he's starting off quick with a solo play. 7 here, the favourite in this matchup, but Newcastle the underdog. It's another matchup of David versus Goliath, except this time Newcastle is not the Goliath. Whereas earlier, facing down Lionel 50, the heavy favourite, he has to show if he can face down 7, that the shoe is on the other foot. Can he pull it off?
Yeah, and we go up a level in the length of these matches today, Sam. Best of 5 each set, so it's a whole new challenge. It's an even longer ordeal to get through for these 2 players. And we'll see how they do it. Of course, relative newcomers to Competitive Open. This is their second and third tournaments in Competitive Open, respectively. They're still finding their feet, but they've done it very well so far. Hanging out here in the very top of the tier, as you say. 7, he's had all the pressure early on, and he does get the first goal inside the first minute.
Yeah, and we've been discussing a lot about the generational gap in this tournament. The old titans of the rival tier. Only one is left now in the top 4 of the competition. Poke with a Stick, the sole representative of a dying age. But 2 newcomers, as you've said. 7, the favourite of those 2, but Newcastle surely has something to say about it. 2-0 though, to 7.
Yeah, and we know that 7, we pretty much know what he's going to bring. He's going to be relentless on offense. He's going to keep Newcastle pinned back on defense, and that's what he was doing so effectively against Leon. He really controlled the pace of the game in his quarterfinal, Sam. He's going to have to find a way to do that here against 7, who is just unrelenting. Never gives the ball up. Perhaps to his detriment occasionally, Sam. We identified a little bit of a weakness against Jackson I in his quarterfinal, where he tends to just stay on the ball even if he has no boost, and perhaps it would be better if he did. He gets a nice one-off kickoff here, Newcastle, to get on the board early on, and that's mentally a big thing for him, Sam, because we know, and he did show, that perhaps the mentality is not his strongest aspect of the game. He clearly has all the skill necessary to take down 7 in the semi-final, but does he have the endurance? Does he have the ability to keep his foot on the gas all the way through a possible 15 games here in this semi-final? And settling down early is going to be important for him.
Yeah, and we were describing him yesterday as an unstoppable force, an immovable object he's transformed into to get that first goal of his of the series.
That's a great 50.
50 King almost gets his second, but that's a clutch demolition. And 7's now got possession, he's got boost, and he's got a bit of space work as well. And the hook shot comes in, but Newcastle equal with that one.
Yeah, back and forth here. Newcastle has got a lot more on the ball since the first minute passed. 7 still controlling things nicely, but an even game, I would say, Sam. And it's going to be a little bit of a clash in styles for me. Newcastle definitely the more flamboyant of the 2. Perhaps even has the mechanical advantage, but 7, the fundamentals so strong. He just very rarely makes a mistake. That's the bottom line, and you're going to have to force mistakes out of him. That demo is a great example of doing that. Newcastle level again.
Yeah, and you were talking about mechanics. I thought you just put that one wide, but luckily the follow-up touch was there, and the equalising goal has been found. Always Clips, aka Newcastle fan, equalised of this game. One. A lot of aliases now that we're getting to this point in the tournament. Poke was rocking one the other day. Obviously we've got 7 here, the user. Always Clips, Newcastle fan. I believe Raru the only one left to stay true to his namesake, but finally Newcastle finds his first lead in this game, and by consequence this series. Game 1, of course, of set 1. Best of 5s today, Sam. A little bit of a longer series, bit of a battle of endurance, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think those 3 sets that you could play in the quarterfinals were a test of endurance themselves. This is a whole other level. Of course, to go to best of 7 in the final, that is really going to be a true test of these players. Good kick off 4-7. He levels things back up. It's going to be a back and forth match, this, for me. Both have all the skill in the world. Perhaps not in the naming department, Sam, as you say. I think we should get on to them about those names. They really are struggling to put the consistency together in that department, but here on the field, they're playing some fantastic Rocket League. Half-time. And it's been a very even game so far, Sam. Shots slightly favouring 7, but he hasn't really been that threatening on the ones he hasn't scored. Newcastle has turned them away pretty effectively. A nice turn in the midfield. He's keeping the pressure up here, Sam.
Yeah, Newcastle fans really impressed me here with the control in the midfield now. 7 as well. I mean, he hasn't had a single save all game long, which shows that he's putting up his defensive wall in the midfield, not allowing Newcastle to get those shots off. As you were saying earlier, 75% shooting percentage for always clips, 50% for 7, and he's just increased it there.
Yeah, a little bit of a scrappy goal from the midfield here. That's the first one of those that's really gone in, and they're the frustrating ones, Sam, and they're the ones that might just tilt Newcastle fan, as we know he's prone to have done to him. The lead back in 7's favour. 2 minutes left. Still a lot of life left in this game. I just wonder how this match will evolve over time. We've seen so many twos and fro's in these matches already, just in the best of 3 stage in the quarters. This one, so much more time for adaptations back and forth, punch and counter punch, and this match already warming up beautifully.
Many great CORL Classic matchups, best of 5s, best of 7s. We've seen some major adaptation swings to and fro in those matchups, but glad he brought that up. 3 best of 5s, a total of 15 games possible. And with 2 titans like these, so closely matched in this game 1 at least, has potential to go all the way. 7 takes the advantage though.
Yeah, he's just had the slight advantage right the way through here. Even when he's been behind or level, he has tended to dictate the pace a little bit more, Sam. Newcastle fans' goals, they've mostly come off challenges. They've mostly come off when he's got the 50, slightly in his favour, maybe he's neutralised it and got possession. That's when he scored. He hasn't really kept up pressure on 7. There hasn't been that much in 7's favour either, but any that has been in this game, in terms of pinning back an opponent in their their defensive box, it's been in favour of 7. Newcastle's been the one who's had to hold on defense. That's not a great recovery from 7 there as he rotates back into his half. Newcastle looking to get some pressure of his own, but that's not a good challenge at all, and surely it's going to be the first 2-goal lead since it was 2-0, and it's 7 with both of those.
And I'm glad he brought up the differential between the amount of pressure that's being applied by these 2 players, because you look at the scoreboard and you see 7 with only a single save, which implies he's not being held back necessarily a whole lot.
And taken nearly twice the shot, Sam. I mean, it's 11-6. It tells its own story that Newcastle has not had sustained pressure. He's had some fleeting chances, and actually he's capitalised on probably more than his fair share of those. That's why he's still in this game, but he's not really dominated at any point in this game. 7 has done so for maybe a minute or so on and off. That's a good shot from Newcastle, but it was straight at the defender. And 7 now, as time is ticking down, more than adept at closing out a game like this, Sam.
Game 1 though, slightly less significant than the best of 3s yesterday, where they were overwhelmingly important. Whereas
Absolutely.
here we've got best of 5, plenty of time. Speaking of plenty of time, Newcastle will find that one, and still plenty of time left for them to equalise, bring it to 6, and maybe take this one to OT.
Yeah, it's a good play in the midfield. Again, it's the same old story. In the midfield, he's getting it by 7 occasionally, but they always come from the midfield, these goals for Newcastle. He's never in the orange half when he's starting a play. I can't remember a single time that he's had 7 back into his box for any period of time, but he's still 6'5". It's a testament to Newcastle fan, and maybe that's just the style of play we're going to see from these 2. 7, pretty tame flick on target. Newcastle collects the ball, gives it back away. Does have boost in the tank, but that's a misplay. Surely he can clear this one away, and he can. He's got a complete monopoly on the boost, has 7. Can he take this one down? It's actually allowed a shot right into his half. That was a little bit foolish, perhaps. And he's doing the in-out save here. Well, it doesn't matter. He closes out the game. Perhaps not as comfortably as he could have, Sam, but it's a game.
Newcastle, I wonder if he was getting a little bit nervous there near the end. Almost floundering a little bit in the dying seconds of the game. Of course, the clock was ticking down, time pressure was mounting, but still, I'd like to see a slightly higher level of composure from, especially the 1v1 playlist. 1v1 playlist composure is absolute key in these type of competitions, and that's something 7 has exhibited quite clearly in this game as an advantage. I find.
Yeah, he's definitely been the one creating his own chances, Sam. I think that's the bottom line. Newcastle, when he's scored his goals, it's been incidental, off the play. You know, he's made a chance happen in a moment of potential to get that goal. He hasn't really forced the mistakes out of Seven in the same way that he has. So I think that advantage is probably going to tell later on in the series. I don't think it's a sustainable way to play, Sam, just getting incidental chances from the midfield. You have to make your own chances. And if he doesn't improve on that area, Newcastle, I don't think it'll be quite as close as that game was.
Absolutely. Can Newcastle make the adaptations required going into the rest of this set? Players joining into the game we'll see momentarily as we head into Forbidden Temple. Can Newcastle finally make a siege on Seven's net and perhaps the half pin him back as he's been pinned back all series long? First goal will go to Seven.
It's interesting to see a car change immediately out of the gate, Sam. I've never seen Newcastle fan play Octane. Usually a Fennec main through and through, and here he is on the Octane after game one. Just one game. It was 6-5. It was a very closely fought contest, but he feels clearly he already needs to make pretty major adaptation in changing his whole car. It's not worked out early on. 4 seconds conceding kickoff goal. Kickoff's pretty even in the first game, Sam. Certainly if Seven can establish an advantage there, this one really could get away from Newcastle. Considerable side of his half, and he does well. Picks up the boost as well. Almost missed it, but backtracked a little bit. That's not the best shot, but the 50 goes in. Awkward for Seven. And we're level again.
The equalising goal showcasing the relative similarity in skill between these two competitors, at least from what has been showcased up until this point. It's a long set and a long series of sets, but up until this point Newcastle has truly held his own, and that wasn't necessarily to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a competitive match. I didn't expect this to be an absolute blowout. Really, I think where Seven might just have the advantage here is a consistent slight edge. I don't think there's a big difference between these two players, Sam, but the consistent edge, I think Seven's going to be able to make that count throughout this series. Both played in the 1v1 championship last week, and both made the top four. Newcastle, he lost in a sweep to Hawaru, who, of course, ended up losing to Seven in the final, 3-1. So, Seven, he's just he's got that slight edge consistently over Newcastle, and even still here, it's 1-1, but he's had absolutely all the pressure. That one goal that Newcastle got, he was on a counter-attack from his own half, and eventually he's going to crack. He can't defend the whole game, Sam. And it's advantage 7 again.
Newcastle fan, 1 shot, 1 goal. Seven finding 5 shots, and that's earned him a 2nd goal. The consistency at which he's scoring in those positions much lower, but Newcastle seemingly not getting into those type of positions. A lot of the goals he's been finding, not only in the first game, but the one goal he has found in this match, in the midfield yet again, an opening he's found in the midfield and just rolls it in. After all, in 1v1, only one player on the pitch, or at the very least one player on each team. Once that player has been beaten, it's just a ride out to the finish, and that's what Seven's looking to do, but Newcastle gets back just in the nick of time.
Yeah, surprised Seven didn't manage to convert that transition. It seemed like Newcastle was completely out of the play after going for that very all-in aerial attack. He got back, but Seven breaks him down in the end. Again, it's just the same old story, isn't it, Sam? It's the law of probability. If you keep taking these shots, if you keep making these chances, even if Newcastle saves 90% of them, which he's been pretty close to, he's done pretty well, some of them are going to slip in. And when there's no pressure on the other side, these games are only going to go one way. Seven misses the boost, does have time to backtrack and get it though, and still keep up the pressure. Newcastle fan, pin back again. It's a demo, it's going to be 4-1. And this is just mighty impressive from Seven.
You make a good point. I mean, Newcastle, 2 shots. If you're not conceding shots, you will not be conceding goals, and that's clearly the philosophy that Seven has taken into the series. After all, even if Newcastle had 100% shooting accuracy, it would only get him half the way he needs to equalise and bring it to that fated overtime that players in these positions are looking to. Even with so much time left in the clock, a 3-goal differential is significant, and it's up to Newcastle to close down and win this all-important game, because if he cannot, then a reverse sweep will be required in the set 1.
Yeah, and that is a tall order, Sam. He needs to make something happen in this game. I mean, it's going to be tough to win this game already, even with bags of time left the way this has gone, but needs to change something. Even if he loses this game, if he can get some momentum going into that third game of the set, I mean, I don't think that's negotiable, to be honest. I think he has to get something out of this game. He's got half time to do it. And for me, Sam, 5-1, this is a recoverable game, but the way it's gone, I think this is time now for Newcastle to experiment a little bit. Try some different things and see how they work. If you concede, the game's probably already gone. Don't worry about it too much. You have plenty of time in this series and this match as a whole, but if you don't make a change, nothing is going to change in these results. He's pretty much tried the same thing over and over, and in terms of the consistency of these two players, it has not worked for Newcastle. That's a big miss as well, gives the ball to Seven. He's low on boost though, and here's an example, Sam, where Seven's on offense but doesn't have the boost, has to back off, and then Newcastle on the transition. Not the best flick, but can he get the bump? Not quite, but Seven is not equal to the shot. It was weak, but it finds the back of the net, and it's 5-2.
Even the mere presence of Newcastle seems to have put Seven off. Him having expected the bump, he didn't put so much effort quite into the jump, assuming an impact was short coming. Back with in 3, you said it is a recoverable game, and I completely agree, and one more goal is all he needs to get himself back into this game, but I completely agree with you on the point of he needs to experiment, he needs to mix this game up. This game reminds me very well of the matchup Newcastle had just yesterday with Lionel 50 in the quarterfinals to end this place in the semi-finals. Except I think Newcastle has slightly more going for him, slightly more going on in the midfield, and he's found another goal.
Yeah, it's a great play. Again, he's making some fantastic touches in the midfield to get it by Seven. That's why these games are close at all. I mean, 2-goal games, both of them so far. Nice little turn. At this level, that's really quite exceptional, but you're just not going to win series on those kind of shots, Sam. It's just not possible. You have to have some default method of scoring. He doesn't have that at the moment. He's getting some incidental goals where he has to play exceptionally well to do so, but you can't play exceptionally well all game. He's definitely brought this game back, though. It was 5-1, 5-3 now, certainly in the balance again, but he's on defense. It's a familiar place.
And those goals that Newcastle is scoring from these exceptional plays is always from an unforced position that Seven has put himself into. He has no way of scoring without a little bit of assistance from Seven. Whereas Seven, on the other hand, bringing the ball into the blue half there, flicks a pass to the defender, that's a consistent way he can put the ball into the goal, and that's within his control, I feel.
It's just a great play, and how many times have we seen Newcastle, with Seven on his line, defending the goal, actually get it past him? I can't remember one yet. Seven has done it countless times, and that has been the difference. The singular difference for me. They've both played very well in every other department. But outplays, when their opponent has been on defense, has been completely in favour of Seven. Newcastle fan. Back behind by 3, and I always feel 3 is a comfort zone, Sam. You're 3 goals up, you feel like you're in full control of the game, you don't have to push quite as hard, and if Seven's in his comfort zone, it's a whole other problem to deal with for Newcastle. He has to coax him out of it, has to make him uncomfortable, and how on earth do you do this to Seven, who has never lost a series in competitive open? Can't quite get to that one. Oh, he can, what a save. Looked like Newcastle had the shot to beat him, didn't have the boost to put the pace on it, and he's awkward now on defense again, Sam. In his own half, not where he has to be, and it's a 7th goal for Seven, and surely this game now is in the books.
And Newcastle venting some of his frustrations in the chat. He cannot be blamed. The position he's just been put into, his back is against a wall in this set 1. We can presume 4 goals will not be coming out of Newcastle fan, although it's been done before and it's been known to happen. It's statistically very improbable, and especially Seven now winning the kick-off, and he's going off for a victory lap. Demolition attempts left, right and centre, and Newcastle has given up as well, waiting for the dying seconds of the game, and Seven just looking to get some last tilt points in this game 2 of set 1.
Yeah, and frankly, Sam, this is the worst possible sign. It's worse than all the gameplay that's happened so far. Newcastle, there's absolutely nothing that tells me that he cannot come back in this series and match as a whole, especially. He has the game to do it. He just has to make those adaptations and find what works against Seven. There's definitely weaknesses there to exploit, Sam. He's been quite vulnerable on the counter-attacks, but Newcastle, is he done already with this series? He's 2-0 down in the first set, and he seems to have given up all hope. He is frustrated. Seven in complete control.
we've talked about him not being able to score when he's putting himself in these offensive positions, but with only 6 shots, he's not been put in those positions very often. So it's both the midfield battle he's losing out on slightly, and also when he is finding those positions, it feels like there's more he can be doing with them. But I find it's his approach up to the goal as much as anything else. Oftentimes, it's his instinct to take the ball into the corner, which, as you and I might know, on offense, especially in ones, bringing the ball through the corner, often it decreases the shooting angle you can take. You have less of a sight of goal, and therefore you're just making things unnecessarily difficult on yourself. So there's certainly things Newcastle can do. He has the mechanics, he has the sense for this. But as you said, now that 7 is perhaps rent-free, as some millennials may say, um, I believe it's certainly 7's game to lose.
Yeah, and what a nice position for 7 to be in. I mean, he's playing so well. His opponent is now really starting to drop off in the mentality. He's in complete control, in complete comfort, Sam, and that's just a great feeling. Especially in ones, you have the full satisfaction that you are the man in this matchup, making the problems for your opponent. It's all down to you and your great play. And 7 must be feeling great at the moment. Newcastle fan has to reverse sweep in set 1. And for me, Sam, I mean, he's switched over to what I assume is not his ideal car if he's really trying to push for this series win.
That musty flag? I feel like that could be a musty cow flag. Perhaps some musties to be coming on in this game for your set 1. Unlikely though with the current flow of the game. As you were saying, the 1v1 playlist, you really do feel like the man when you're dominating. Everything you're doing as a direct consequence of the plays you're making, and that's a fantastic... Oh, no.
Newcastle.
And he's dropped the controller for a moment there, and on the contrary to feeling like the man, I'm sure the complete opposite is true in ones. Not only is every victory that you can obtain all because of your great play, the opposite is true, and I'm sure Newcastle is feeling that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The highs and lows of 1v1 are extreme. It's the most tilting game in the world when you're losing. It is the most satisfying of all when you're winning. Polar opposite emotions for these two at the moment. But Sam, to be honest, if Newcastle is feeling now that he can't win this set, and perhaps even the match as a whole, why not just throw caution to the wind here? Go all out, throw everything he has, which is plenty, at 7. Go for everything he has in his locker. Go for all the fancy mechanics. Why not? If he really feels that he's lost this series, why not show off what you can do, and maybe it might just work. 7 needs to be put outside that comfort zone we've been talking about. He's enjoying himself at the moment, surely. Why doesn't Newcastle just throw him out of that a little bit and show what he can do on defense here?
And here's the thing, Newcastle's been the only one with a deadly chance up until this point, and he's found a second. Now he's taking this up the wall. Maybe not the optimal play, but still a chance nonetheless. Demolition coming through, doesn't quite connect. But Newcastle's been the only one with a true chance on net. It just so happens that maybe in his own head a little bit tilted. We have seen his gameplay deteriorate over the course of this series, especially in this last game. And he really needs to not let what has happened in the past, what he cannot control, affect the future of this series, because he really is still in with a chance to make it into the grand final.
Yeah, and we've talked so much yesterday about the likes of Leon L50, these serial champions who just keep winning and winning, even when they're not necessarily dominant on the field. There's a lot more than just what you can, how you can hit that ball, what you can do on the field. And Newcastle, he has all the talent in the world to win this rival tier tournament. But does he have it between the ears? At the moment, it doesn't look likely. You have to come back and you have to keep trying when you're behind in these situations, when all hope is lost, Sam. How many great comebacks have we seen from these great champions who've won so many tournaments, like your Leon L50s in rival tier? Never know when they're beaten. Newcastle fan, he feels like he's beaten already.
And you're right, the true makings of a great champion, especially here in the 1v1 scene. Newcastle, who recently defeated Leon L50, is lacking exactly what Leon L50 has in spades.
Absolutely.
The will to win, and he's just, as you're saying, throw caution to the wind, mix things up a little bit, try and get a little bit more involved in the midfield, contest him a little bit more in the midfield, and especially in these positions, get the ball a heck away from net, and he's done that successfully here. It's 3 minutes in, 2 goals now, still not a bad showing by any means, but certainly want to put your foot down on the gas at this point.
Yeah, Seven is just playing his same old game. Why would he change anything? He is playing just delightful Rocket League. Consistent pressure. He's converting not all of them, Sam. The shooting percentage actually has been fairly low for Seven in this series, but what does it matter? He's putting in so many shots and converting plenty of them. Why would he change anything? 3-0 off the kickoff. He's minutes away from winning this first set.
And that one certainly should have been saved by Newcastle there, certainly getting into his own head here slightly. 50-50 certainly could have been stopped on the goal line there, and with 2 minutes left to play, only 3 goals the advantage, and Newcastle has just put in the chat he's requesting the forfeit this game and the set at whole, despite the 3-goal advantage that Seven has. Unfortunately, it's not something we accommodate in a competitive Open RL. All matches must be played to completion. So he's going to have to stick this one out. It's only a minute and a half left. Plenty of time to find 3 goals, I would argue, but Newcastle fans seems to disagree.
Listen, Sam, this is completely winnable. Even if he loses this game and he goes 1-0 down in sets, what's to stop Newcastle fan winning this match? It's the beauty of this format. You can lose 3-0 and you're on level playing field for the second set. It's the best possible scenario when you have a bad start. It gives you chances to come back, but he's not willing to take them. What is he here to do in this tournament? Is he here to win? Or is he here to take part at the moment? He doesn't even want to be taking part, it seems. Seven. Frustrating Newcastle fan to the extreme. And this game has been a walk in the park. Final minute. And Seven. Surely just a victory lap for him. Newcastle fan trying to put something on target, show what he can do. Why not freestyle a little bit? That's what I'm saying in this game. If he truly believes he has nothing to lose, surely that takes all the pressure off. Enjoy this chance on stream in the Masters, biggest event of the year. Show what he can do. Of course, it's easier said than done against Seven, who is so unrelenting. He doesn't give you many of those chances. And he is having fun here. 1-0 up in the match. He's going to be Sam, and it's just one more to get to the final.
And we're speaking about chances, 2 chances to 8, or shots rather, I'd argue relatively equivalent. Newcastle finds 1, and respectfully 15 seconds left. It's been done before. I've done it myself in a fairly similar format to this, with 12 seconds on the clock, 3 quick kickoff goals. Has been done before, will be done again, but unfortunately I don't think Newcastle is even going to go for it.
Yeah, it's a shame, because this really is a match that has all the potential to be a classic. Newcastle fan just not got the heart in him at the moment to bring it to 7. And really, Sam, like I said, this is the best feeling in the world. As a 1v1 player, you've got your opponent absolutely frustrated out of their mind. Newcastle fan losing the will to play this game, and 7 is having all the fun in the world. It's the best feeling. He's going to be 1-0 up in this semi-final with just one more set to win the match.
1 goal has been found, a gift, some would argue, from 7 to Newcastle fan as set 1 goes to 7. 1 more required to secure a place in that grand final. Newcastle fans' job to stop him, and all the great players in competitive Open, don't get me wrong, have all had their weaknesses, but none as glaring as, I mean, if you want to be a great player in the CORL 1v1 space, mentality is step 1. If you haven't got the mental down, then you've got no hope of winning any big 1v1 competition. Certainly not if there's an opponent with a comparable skill. Because sometimes you'll find yourself on the back foot, and as you said, some of the greatest core classic matchups, many involving Leon. I mean, he's been known for best of 7 reverse sweeps. If only Newcastle could possess that same quality to the same degree, this truly could be a core classic.
Listen, Sam, the format is on his side here. It's back to 0-0 now in set 2. He just needs to win a best of 5. And it's a level playing again, Sam. I just can't understand this from Newcastle fan. Can he not see that he has all the ability to take down 7? There's not a huge difference between these two players, Sam.
And now requesting to forfeit the entire series. This is truly a spectacle, if nothing else.
Well, will he be playing in this second set? That's the question. We wait with bated breath to see if he's going to be playing in the second set, or will Seven march on in a single set. Seven ready and waiting to play this game. And it looks like Newcastle fan will be playing it.
He has joined. Now, he said if one or two good games don't go his way, he might just leave spontaneously. Now, you're not the greatest the mentality of a champion. It's quite unheard of, and once again, he's outplayed Seven here in the midfield. There's absolutely nothing lacking in his Rocket League abilities. It's what is happening off the pitch here that's costing him. Especially with a format like this, if you could just take this set, he only needs is 3 games out of the next 5, and he's got back on equal footing here with Seven and has a chance in the CORL Masters Grand Final. This is a position so many players watching, I'm sure, on the broadcast at home would love to be in, even, you know, 1 set down. Sure, who cares? You're still in with a spectacular chance to do something incredible.
Absolutely, Sam. There's only 4 players in the entire tier of the hundreds that have played in 2022. There are 4 players left in this 2022 season here in the Masters. Newcastle fan is one of them, and he doesn't seem enthused to take this chance. And what's strange, Sam, is his ranking title, his first win on his debut, let me remind you, in Doubles Cup back at the start of this month. He was 2-0 down in the semi-finals. He won 3-2. He reverse swept his semi-final to win his ranking tournament, and that's the reason he's here in the Masters. He has previous experience. It's not like he's never done it before. Does he have the heart to do it here?
In a far less forgiving format, I mean, that best of 5, if you lost that
Absolutely.
immediate elimination, he's just been 2-0 down in the set and completely given up in game 3, put on an absolute, certainly an interesting card choice. I'm sure, as you said, not as optimal choice if he was looking to win. Completely gave up on that set, and now he's seemingly looking to completely leave this event. He's discussing it with our admin team at the moment, the ramifications of if he leaves. He's weighing the pros and cons of, oh, I'll be punished here, X, Y, and Z.
Meanwhile, it's
really
a 1-goal game, Sam. This is absurd.
And it's worth mentioning, Newcastle, of course, had the lead momentarily, and then he began typing to our admin team again, and maybe if he just had his focus elsewhere, it could be a completely different series.
Absolutely. It's a puzzling story, but Newcastle fan, he is inexperienced, Sam. Let's not forget about this. He didn't have a lot of tournament experience, I believe, before he played in Competitive Open for the first time, and he's only played 2 events before this in CORL this year. It's only his 3rd tournament.
Keeping that
A young
in
player
mind,
as well, Sam. It's a learning curve for sure, and hopefully he can take something out of this event, even if he does go on and lose. But he has to start now, when he's still in the match.
listen, CORL Crew Battle Team Championship finalist, of course, ranking event winner. As far as experience goes, it might not be particularly high in quantity, but certainly the quality of experience he's had in Competitive Open alone has been significant. And now in the semi-finals of the CORL Masters, he's throwing it all away.
Well,
All his hard work to get here down the drain. Or certainly it will be if he doesn't cop on soon.
it's a great play by Seven, by the way. He was just dancing around with the ball, just killing time with his 1-goal lead. And the 50 from the gods to force it into the back of the net. Newcastle fan not having fun out there at the moment. He's playing it close in the field again, Sam. Has there been a single game that you could call a blowout? Frankly, I don't think so.
Not even
Newcastle
close.
has kept it close. They've been
Now, I mean,
2-goal
game
games,
3,
3-goal
I
games.
suppose.
I mean,
The final game of the
He wasn't playing for
set.
half of that game, Sam.
Well,
This is the point.
exactly. Yeah. Certainly no blowout games that has not been caused directly by Newcastle just stopping playing. And this is such a competitive matchup. I mean, in the history of Rocket League, outside the realm of Competitive Open, we've seen far greater upsets than this. We've seen far greater comebacks than this, so certainly what's required. Even in my own ranked sessions, I've, you know, defeated players who are better than me by a larger degree than the differential here. It's completely absurd.
Listen, Sam,
even-
these players are the same rank. These are not large rank differences. They're both GC1s. Newcastle fan, I think, is a higher rank than Seven at current situation. So it's not like he's going up against a player who's out of his league. He's, by all accounts, an absolute peer. It's the mental game that really has made the difference. Seven, so cool, so calm, just goes about his business. Sam, we haven't had a single letter from Seven in the chat in this series. He has been focusing on his job, getting to the grand finals of the Masters, and he's been doing it mightily impressively.
And that's a true sign of a professional here. I mean, as you were saying, the exact same rank. If they were to queue some ones immediately after this final, they could very well queue into each other, and Seven would be the lower of the two in that matchup. He would be the presumed, a Newcastle fan would be the presumed favourite by the matchmaking system. And yet, I mean, he's winning this game. Oh, well, he's not quite on the orange team, but certainly within the realms, victory is certainly within his reach.
In all fairness to you, Sam, these names are not the clearest in the world.
No, it can be difficult to keep track of. Many shots though, Newcastle fan only finding 3 of those shots. Many shots in this game, Seven having 8 shots to his name. Complete domination all over the blue half. But when Newcastle fan gets his chances, he's taking them. He's only conceded 3 goals and 30 seconds to find an equalising goal. Still all in the set.
It's actually been a good game, Sam, this one. It's a shame it's been tainted by the drama of Newcastle fan just not having his heart in this. It's been a very close game. It's been back and forth. Seven's had the pressure. But again, same as all the other games, Newcastle fan has made those great plays in the midfield. He's got it past his opponent more than once, and he's still in this. 30 seconds left. This is not over, this game.
And he's continuing to threaten to forfeit the matchup, once again asking what the ramifications of it would be for his CORL career. As he finds his way back within 10 seconds to find the equalising goal. This is absurd.
Well, this game might just be a photo finish. He's got another goal on the board. He's consistently counter-attacking against Seven. And that is honestly turning into a consistent way for him to score. He's scored so many goals on the counter-attack, and it's the same old story for Seven. Sometimes when he's on offense, he overextends with enough boost, and it's level pegging with 7 seconds left, Sam. Newcastle fan, has he just focused up here? Has he just put everything aside and focused on the game? He's leveled up the match, and he could go 1-0 up in this set.
Fake kickoff, 5 seconds left on the clock. Will we be heading to overtime? It's seeming likely.
Ooh, that was a bit of a nervy hit there, Sam. He was really feeling it on that one. Completely flipped by the ball, but it was inconsequential. Decent kickoff for both sides. Can he get the boost here, Newcastle? That would be big. And he does. Seven. A little bit awkward here. Newcastle absolutely should be challenging this, and he has. He's got the ball. He's got the boost. He's missed on the wall. Unfortunate. He's keeping possession here and needs to. Needs to challenge well. Unfortunately, he gave it away. And back down the blue side we go, Sam.
Newcastle fan could very well be taking this advantage in this set too. He's found plenty of time and space and boost, and he's taken to the skies. Seven just watching on, waiting for his chance to pounce, and he does. And this could be an opening. Newcastle not quite able. And now, Seven 1-0 up in both the set and the second series.
Yeah, well, Newcastle proclaiming that was lucky. I can't see a single area that could possibly have been lucky. Newcastle just can't get the reset. Listen, I don't think that's a bad way to go out in the game. I told him he should be going for these clips if he thinks he can hit them. And often he can. He has the mechanics. And what a way that would have been to win the game. Go for glory. Try and get the reset in OT. Unfortunately, Seven is delighted to roll in the open net.
And, you know, we were speaking earlier a little bit about, I mean, especially it came up a lot during Newcastle series against Lyon, where to even be in the Masters is such a, to be on the broadcast and have a chance to showcase your skills to the wider Rocket League scene, even if the series is completely lost and you have absolutely no chance of winning, you should still be trying to showcase your skills to the utmost, and it's a little bit of a shame that he's not taking that opportunity.
Still in it. That's the bottom line. And that was some great play from him at the end of that game, Sam. He played very well. He looked by far the more dangerous player for me. The only reason he lost it, he went for that clip, which is maybe a little bit too extreme. But again, if he hits it, we're all calling him a genius. And what a play it would have been. Newcastle fan is still in it. All 4 games gone the way of 7. But if anything, these are tightening up, Sam. That's the first overtime we've seen. 2-goal games, 1-goal games. This was an overtime. And if Newcastle give 100%, Sam, surely you'll be seeing a back and forth series.
I mean, even a simple changing of car back to, a slightly more standard car, I'm sure he'd be more comfortable in. Very well could have made the difference in that previous series. He's looking for flip resets, all these precise maneuvers where the hitbox of the car is very relevant. He's in a car he's likely got very little experience in, very well could have changed both the tide of this series, the set, and the game as a whole. Now, 7 finding the first goal, it's a common sight to see, 1-0 to 7. Newcastle has kept every single one of these games within close contention for the entirety of the match up until the very end.
Yep. Good start for 7 though again, and it's been a bit of a shame that we've been talking so much about Newcastle and some of the issues he's been having, because 7 has been so impressive, Sam. He's playing so well. 1v1 champion on Saturday. Less than a week ago, he could well be picking up the Masters title in tomorrow's grand final. He'll be playing either Hawaru or Poke with a Stick, assuming that match goes ahead as planned. That should be a great match. Hawaru gave him a real match in the final of the 1v1 championship, but if it is him, surely that'll be a real test for 7. This well could have been. It could still be. But he's having all the fun in the world with Newcastle, who... Has he gone AFK, Sam? Well, he's gone.
And he's returned to the pitch to continue typing, I believe.
Yeah, this is unusual.
He's gone AFK, and now he seems rather displeased that 7 didn't score while he was AFK. Now he's just put the ball into his own net. And a presumed forfeit. I mean, at this point, he's certainly only digging himself deeper, in a competitive Open RL tournament. Of course, you have to try to the utmost. Game throwing, game fixing is taken very seriously, and these type of actions fall under the umbrella of that rule.
Well, he's claiming it was a misclick, Sam, so perhaps we can give him the benefit of the doubt. He's seemingly left the team by accident. He's back in now. Kickoff goal for 7 immediately. That's going to help his mood, I'm sure. 3-0 inside 90 seconds.
This game too not looking promising for Newcastle fan. He's faking every kickoff, just driving off to the side to collect the boost, which is certainly not a fake kickoff I'm familiar with. And here he's approaching by the ceiling. He does get 50, then 7. Not a bad goal at all. Despite the defense being slightly lackluster, it's still a great showing of his mechanical prowess.
Yeah, great play again. Clean 50 right by Newcastle fan. And it's 4-0. It's a clean game again from 7. Consistency of the highest order, Sam. He has not dropped off a single bit in all of these games. That's something to be said for this. This is the 5th game. We could have had 15. We could still have plenty. But looks unlikely at the moment. But he's kept up a really consistent level. So often in these series that are on the longer side, you see, the player who perhaps was playing excellently well early on drop off a little bit. Even if they still win, they're not quite as dominant. He has kept up such a consistent foot on that gas pedal right the way through this series. He's dominating in the half of Newcastle fan again. Gonna dribble this one in the open net. It's 5-0. And 7 is closing in on the grand final, Sam.
5-0, certainly not an insurmountable lead, but with the context surrounding it seeming ever unlikely, a rest to be required if Newcastle loses this game. But quite frankly, doesn't seem too bothered as he does a half flip on his approach to the kickoff. Somehow it hasn't gone straight into his net, but Newcastle can't quite, the accuracy not working on either side of the pitch it seems, and 7 will be happy to finish that one off, extending the lead to 6.
Yep, he's going to put in every goal he gets a chance for, Sam. He's not interested in messing around. If he wants to make this 20-0, it'll be 20-0. Newcastle fan is not going to get any remorse from his opponent 7. Absolutely ruthless.
And an absolute professional. Oftentimes, players, begin this strategy in hopes of the opponent stopping. Many a time I've been queuing some ranked 1v1s and the opposition would stop. I turn around, get a cup of water, maybe put on some food while I'm waiting for the match to end. I come back and they're in the lead by about 6 goals. So it is certainly a strategy, and he's back within 5. So he has scored a goal, somewhat unexpected. 7 finally letting off the gas very slightly. He's been an absolute professional in this series, playing to his utmost. Plenty of time left to find 5.
Yeah, it's a great point though, Sam. It's very difficult to keep your concentration when so much is going on, when your opponent is kicking up a stink as Newcastle has been, getting frustrated very publicly, calling you out. It's very tough to keep your focus, and against an opponent who is really, truly competitive. If he was giving it his all, it's a credit to 7. He's completely kept calm, not said a thing in response to the toxicity from Newcastle. A true professional, as you say, and he's kept it up on the field as well. Not taking his foot off the gas in the least. 6-1 in this, the second game of set 2. He won the first 3-0. He is closing in on a 2-0 lead in this one. Will we see a game won by Newcastle fan? That's the question now. And at the moment, you wouldn't get pretty good odds on that happening, I think. Surely he can just try in this one last game, Sam. Get a game on the board. Don't get perfectly swept in all the games.
All 6 of the games, losing a series 6-0, certainly not an ideal outcome, and he certainly could have picked up a couple of games along the way, many 1-goal games, many games where in the dying seconds he's just given up, and I believe this will be another iteration of that, of him just driving around looking for demos, having a bit of fun while he's, and they've inserted a backwards rule 1. Listen, that's the one part of the game that's taken place so far that I won't criticise, because you've got to follow the rules, and that's exactly what these two players are doing. 1 minute left on the clock here, and Brazil is looking ever unlikely as the ball not rolling towards the goal at all.
Absolutely. Well, this has been the most honourable thing Newcastle has done in this series, no question about it. Full respect for the backwards rule 1, not even the classic sound. We get a variation of this mechanic, one of the best of all time.
Really showing what these two players are made of, and some camera action now flicking it back and forth as ball now rolling up the left forward corner of the pitch. Could it roll on back to the orange goal, getting Newcastle back within for ever unlikely, though so little time left on the clock, and now 15 seconds left to go.
Yeah, it's riveting stuff here, Sam. Can they keep this together? They're throwing in a bit of movement here, getting exciting. It's been a very clean game from 7, though, as have all of them been. It's a 6-1 win. It's been straightforward and to the point. And the clock ticks down to 0. 2-0 lead for 7. He's already 1-0 up in sets. 1 game from the grand final of the Masters.
Too bad 7 couldn't find the 7th. Brazil certainly would have been a nice thing to add. 7 shots, 6 goals, and almost unprecedented shooting accuracy. Of course, 1v1, it's a little bit easier, especially when the defense is slightly lackluster. Admittedly so, by Newcastle, certainly putting himself down quite a bit in these final games. And also, I mean, the two players here are very comparable in skill, so it's a little bit of a shame. This really could have gone to game 9, but unfortunately, it's looking like it will end in 6. Newcastle has one last chance. He needs to win these next 2 games now to close off this set and equalise with 7 heading into the final best of 5. 3 games back to back, actually. I may have misspoke.
Yeah, well, 2 games just to get to a decider. That's the task in front of Newcastle fan. But I just wonder, if this is to be the last game, Sam, surely he can just try a little bit harder. Really try and take it to 7. Take a game off him. Getting swept 6-0 effectively across the 2 sets. That is a real demolition job. Surely he wants to avoid that. For the mental side of it, as much as anything else, surely he wants to protect the ego. Is he going to get swept 6-0 in the semi-finals? It would be a true feather in the cap of 7. And incredibly, Sam, this would be 7's second consecutive grand final in a big ranking event, the 1v1 championship and the Masters, without dropping a single game. Unbelievable.
completely incredible, and that's surely a record broken in the CORL history books. Assuming he can pull it off, Newcastle surely will give us a good showing in this final game. When he's watching back these games later, in many years to come, thinking back to his glory days in the CORL Masters, how does he want to be remembered? Does he want to be remembered as the player who didn't want it enough and lost, not because of a lack of skill, but a lack of effort being put into the match, or is he going to give us a show? And it looks like he's going to give us as much of a show as he can muster, as I believe that was a legitimate mechanical error. Still slightly tilted, of course, but at the very least making the effort and putting time in.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from Newcastle early on here. That was actually quite unfortunate to be backflipping there and miss the ball. Just wanted to clip it to keep possession, ended up giving it straight away to 7. But it was a great offensive push early in this game. Took the shot, was just off target. This is good stuff from Newcastle. He's playing with great speed. I think, Sam, he's the faster of the two players if they're both playing at their full ability. Obviously, speed isn't everything, but he can dash around the field with such extreme pace. Very difficult to combat.
And that would have been spectacular if he'd scored that one solo play from the midfield looking for the flip reset, and 7 equal to it, but certainly being put on the back foot. For the first time we've seen in this entire series, the ball has been bouncing back and forth across the orange half, and down the infield it goes. And he seems to be scoring. A disconnect perhaps from 7.
I think Newcastle will probably take that one all day long, because there's been a few he's given away on the other end. I hope 7's not having any technical issues here. It would be most unlike him to be stopping the play for any other reason. See if he's back on this kickoff.
Can you imagine now 7 completely disconnects from the game, and thankfully that's not the case. Newcastle almost heading on to the finals there for a couple more seconds of inactivity.
Well, that would be quite the way to win the series, Sam. If he wins all the games from here, my goodness, that would be quite the turnaround. The crazy thing is, it's not totally unimaginable on skill alone.
Unreasonable. I mean,
it's clearly a tall order the way he's been playing and the way he's been thinking, but it's not even absolutely incredible that that could happen on the way these two guys can play. If he can just find an extra gear, he's capable of beating 7 in consistent games, but just giving up a few too many awkward goals here in this first one. He's overcommitted twice now.
6th game of the day, and still not a single one going to Newcastle. So he's going up for a solo play here, very reminiscent of some of the goals he scored early in the competition. Going for the reset slightly early, I would say, and 7's going to be able to collect that one up nicely and go for perhaps a mirror play down the same side of the field. He's looking for the musty fake off the back while it goes, and surely this is a chance for a counter.
Yeah, and that's the way he's been scoring all day long. 7 has that weakness in his locker. It's the one weakness, Sam. He does sometimes overcommit a little bit on offense, keeps up the offense just a few seconds too long when he has no boost to back it up. And that's where Newcastle has scored all his goals. It's where Jackson and I scored a few goals in his quarterfinal, Sam. He's not impenetrable, 7. He's not unbeatable. He's only dropped a single game in his entire competitive open history. But frankly, we have 2 other semi-finalists on the other side of the bracket that I think are capable of taking 7 to task in this grand final. They're going to have to do it in a lot of games. It's going to be potentially 21 games, of course, in that final, but 7 has not got his name written on this Masters trophy yet. He's shown weakness. He's been absolutely excellent in most other ways, but Newcastle fan, in his own way, has shown that there is ways to score against 7. And it'll be fascinating if indeed he does go on to the final to see if a rematch potentially against Hauraru, who he played in the 1v1 championship final, see if that goes any differently, or indeed poke with the stick, who could yet spring the upset on Hauraru.
Certainly seems as though 7 will be making it to the final at very least, as not lost a game yet in the 1v1 call. I mean, just in competitive open 1v1s, he's never lost a single game. And isn't that a heck of a statistic?
Mighty impressive. The question is, will he close out 2022 undefeated? The odds are good. It's going to have to be an upset from someone if it happens, but definitely not out of the question for my money anyway.
The potential is there for 7 to go on, win this entire championship, and then in the new year swiftly move up to the Premier tier and have a reign there. He genuinely has the potential to be getting middling results at that type of level. Now, don't get me wrong, he won't be winning any championships in the Premier tier for the utmost elite players. But having performances like this in the rival tier is going to go a long way to securing a spot.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of players who are surely comparable to the level 7's playing at have some success in Premier here. The likes of AA, the likes of Krill, Febreze. All these players, I think 7 would give a mighty good game. I've had success in Premier tier. There's no reason he can't go on to do that in the new year, if indeed he does close out the Masters in 2022. It's been a close game, actually, this Sam. It's been a little bit more conservative from both players. They've not quite been going all out, and that makes total sense, especially from 7's point of view. He puts a 4th in, and that might be the one that seals the deal. It's been a brilliant performance. Absolutely phenomenal. Start to finish. Consistency across the 6 games. And frankly, Sam, he has the pure quality, but that is as big an advantage against the rest of the field in this event as any other. That ability to keep up the standard without wavering. Total concentration right the way throughout. And 25 seconds left. It looks very unlikely we'll be going any further in this semi-final.
1 goal to get back in. Unfortunately, he's approaching the wall. He doesn't seem to have a whole lot of intent with this play. As a couple of 360s around the ball will cement 7 as our first finalist.
It's been a brilliant performance. He dominated Jackson I in the quarters. There was potential there, surely, for Newcastle to push him hard in this semi. He didn't quite have the belief to make that happen. But all credit goes to 7. The top seed, the 1v1 champion, rolls on to the Masters final. He's going to have his chance to win the biggest title of the year. And he's done an incredible run through the bracket to get there. Not dropped a single game. 10 games won, 0 games lost. And he's showing his dribbling ability one last time here. An encore at the end of the final game, Sam. But what a performance.
This could go on for quite a while. Of course, historically in the RLCS, it's been known to happen where the broadcast immediately shuts off. We're going to leave this on for as long as we can, because I feel like 7 has not gotten the respect he deserves. We've been very focused on the controversy surrounding this matchup, but 7 has been an overwhelming force to be reckoned with. And as this ball floats on up the wall, it seems to be traded back to Newcastle fan, who's not able to connect quite in time. And with that,
Clearly got the advantage in more ways than one there, Sam.
It truly has gotten the better of Newcastle fan on this occasion.
It's been a great performance from 7 though, Sam, and he will be in that final, and he's going to be a huge favourite no matter who he plays. That's the question remaining. Who will he play?